Good morning and welcome to the Mini Storage Messenger Self-Storage Webinar Series. I'm Poppy Behrens, publisher of Minico, and we're delighted to have you in the audience today. This is one of several informative webinars planned for self-storage owners, operators, managers, investors, developers, and other industry professionals. The sponsor of today's webinar is U.S. Storage Search. Our presenter is Nick Balaba, a senior account executive with USStorageSearch.com. The U.S. Storage Search, boy, this is a tongue twister, Nick. USStorageSearch.com is one of the self-storage industry's leading internet hubs. Nick is experienced in helping self-storage facilities integrate internet marketing into their business models. Over the past 5 years, Nick has worked with thousands of facilities to help them succeed in the online marketplace. USStorageSearch.com is the largest storage directory in the industry with over 30,000 self-storage and mobile storage listings nationwide. The fully independent website connects consumers searching online for storage to self-storage and mobile storage companies in their area. This year does mark the 32nd anniversary of the Mini Storage Messenger, providing the self-storage industry with in-depth news and information. We also publish a variety of other self-storage data sources, such as those you see listed on the screen. For more information, please visit ministoragemessenger.com. We do invite you to submit questions today throughout the webinar. To do so, simply type your question in the question area and click Send. Depending on the question, we will answer it either privately or to the entire group. And while we'll try to answer as many questions as we can during the webinar and during the following Q&A period at the end of the webinar, those that can't be answered due to time constraints will be answered by Nick by way of email once the webinar has concluded. This webinar is being recorded and will be available for viewing on demand at our archives at ministoragemessenger.com. And now it's my distinct pleasure to turn the presentation over to Nick. Good morning, Nick. How are you?
I'm good, Poppy. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Great. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to present this webinar today. Thank Minico for that, and all of you who have logged on to this. I hope that you're able to take something useful away from this, if not several things. The goal of today's webinar, what we really want to talk about is, with the increasing importance of online marketing, we wanted to discuss several ways to position your facility online, since each consumer is shopping differently. And that's kind of the main focus, and I hope what you take away from it. All of these things that we're going to talk about, a lot of them are things that we either have used ourselves before or are different things that we've kind of researched and think they'd be effective for you to obviously incorporate into your internet marketing strategy. So we'll get right into the presentation here. Basically, on the first slide here, we talk about the internet. Obviously, we're using the internet for everything these days. It says here, print is practically dead. I want to say that, generally speaking, I think you can get a lot more if you take the money that you've invested into print advertising and put that towards your online marketing efforts. You can get a lot more from your online marketing for the same spend. There are definitely areas where print is still effective and should be a part of your marketing budget. Obviously, we're all tracking our efforts more closely these days, so you should know, where your renters are coming from and whether or not the investment that you have into print advertising is generating a return in your market. Tracking phone numbers, these have been a key indicator on how well a print campaign did. Not only by the volume of calls, but we're also able a lot of times to listen to those calls so we can see, in fact, if people are actually renting off of a particular campaign that we have running. Generally speaking, though, the expense of print, if used online, can dramatically increase your exposure with all the different options that we're going to discuss. So websites were originally used as a way for consumers to gather information online. And while they still do that, they're also nowadays set up as a sales tool. They capture customer information, they allow a customer to buy or purchase a product, reserve a storage unit, they take payments, they answer questions. Basically, a website these days is almost like having another employee. Over the past 7 years that we've been in business, we've seen a dramatic shift from the offline efforts to online, and watched websites turn into effective sales tools. So the convenience of having a website capable of reservations, payments, answering questions, we feel is, obviously very important to today's online consumers. So you have a website. Does it sell? We'll get on the next slide here. Basically, when we look at our website and whether or not it sells, we want to make sure, first of all, that our website is nice looking and that it's easy to understand. So decide what you want to do with your website. Do you intend to use it to generate phone calls? Do you want it to serve as a customer service tool for current tenants? Do you want to use it to generate sales? Obviously, we hope so. Do you have a website with a purpose, or did you build a website just because you didn't have one and thought that you should? Many people started a website many years ago just because everybody had one or everybody needed one, but they haven't done anything with it. So do you have any money allocated that you can update or maintain your website? And obviously the amount to budget is going to vary upon your location and competition online. However, your company's own website can and should provide tenants at the lowest cost to you if it's done right. So basically, when you're looking at designing your website or building your website, choose a theme, stick with it. Who's your main audience? Who are the people that are your renters? These are important things to know when designing and positioning a website to attract new tenants in your market. If your primary audience, for example, is retired folks, your website theme will be different than that of a facility, that's located next to a major university. Understanding, what points to emphasize about your location is largely going to depend on your renters. So, and this relates to your content too. You want to focus your content specific to, relevant search terms in your area. And you can research some of the most popular searches in your area, and then obviously, focus website content and links towards those terms. And what I'm trying to explain there is, do people, in your particular area that you have a facility or where your facilities are located, do they use words such as mini storage more than self-storage? Or maybe they use storage locker instead of storage unit where you're at. So content can also, change based on who's using your site. You may find that the majority of your users are, let's say, over 40 years old with a college degree. So your content may be a little different than if it were your primary renters were a different age group. So you can also you can monitor the traffic to your site as well as traffic to your competitor sites with sites like Alexa.com. Another one out there is Compete.com. There's also analytic tools to research the keywords that are being searched on these sites. So it is when you're looking at these sites, do remember that numbers from them aren't exact, but at least gives you a good starting point. So when you're, again, designing your website, promote your facility, different accomplishments, community involvement, obviously promotions that you have going on. Make it appealing to sell. Little things can sometimes make the difference too. What I mean by that is if you offer, maybe offer free coffee or you have refreshments or something, mention that. Sometimes that can be if somebody's researching your facility and another facility and they're kind of on the fence about which one to go with. You both offer maybe a first month free or free use of move-in truck. You're both conveniently located to them. Those little things like the free coffee might be something that pushes them over the edge. So the next thing that we're going to talk about now is obviously tracking your site. There's several different videos. There's seminars available out there to better understand how analytics work and how to use them to your advantage. In fact, there's entire websites devoted to optimizing, how you track the activity that occurs on your site. A few of those, Omniture.com, that was a site that I've been on a lot, looking at different statistics. And you can go to, YouTube, you can go to Google. They have several different videos and information on how to use analytics to better understand where visitors are coming from, popular pages that they're going to on your website, where you're losing people, where they're falling out at, and also where people are converting. So all of this is going to be important, to improving your website performance. Especially important if for several of us out there that are doing a pay-per-click or have an SEM campaign going, it's going to be important to know what keywords to focus on, and also where we're spending money at to know how to get people to where they're going to convert. Little things also to know, where your visitors are converting, or what pages are performing the best on your website, it can make a huge difference. Just little things like where you place your phone number, or maybe where you have the Contact Us tab on your website. So we on U.S. Store Search, we've done little changes like that we're just surprised the little differences like where you place the phone number and things like that can really make a change in the number of contacts that you're able to get. So if you use Google Analytics, or even another analytics program, the information that's gathered is invaluable, in the management of your website efforts. Reading, understanding the information is just the first step. It's important to make sure you have a website that you can change, or that you're able to update, based on the information that you're able to see from these analytic tools that you're using. If for example, certain pages on your website are retaining your customers, and this is often referred to as time on site, or I guess I don't really know another term that it would be called, but these certain pages, if you want them to convert better, you'll need to figure out ways to get visitors to those pages sooner, or even bring visitors to those pages directly, the pages that they're spending the most time on. So if certain pages are tending to lose your visitors, you'll want to look at redesign, or how to avoid having those pages a part of your planned conversion process. So when they come into your website, how you're planning to, I guess, sort of take that person prisoner and get them to either contact you, or even do a reservation online if you have those capabilities. So once we've analyzed all of this data, we've looked at how we design our website, we look at where people are coming in, the time that they're spending on the site. There's obviously some changes to consider, and if we have to work hard to get answers when we come into somebody's website, first of all, what generally happens? Well, generally, at least me personally, I click out. If I'm confused at all, or if there's not a clear-cut process on how to get the information that I want, generally going to click out of that website. So answer questions on your website, possibly have a help, a tips, often referred to as a facts section. Guide the process, make it seem easy to rent a storage unit. So I know that there's kind of with a lot of people, there's I guess a vision that renting a storage unit is big, drawn out, can be a hassle, and make this seem easy to them, to where they can get on your website, they can see where you guys are located at. Maybe that's a Google map, driving directions on how to get to the facility. They can see a unit size, what all fits in it. Maybe have an image of kind of a sketch of what a 5 by 10 is, or 10 by 10, what fits in there. And then obviously make it easy for them to contact you, to reserve a unit, to request a quote from you, and get more information from you. So if your website, and talking about reservations, if your website currently doesn't have reservation capabilities, which I think a lot of the management softwares out there that we're all using should have, some type of, I think a lot of them do have tie-ins where they can, they'll work with your web team to make it so that you can reserve units online. But if you don't have that, link up with websites that do. This is important to offer, as many of your competitors' websites probably do have these capabilities. They probably are reservation capable, or they're linked up with somebody that does. So it takes minimal effort on your part, as the consumer's making the decision themselves. They like convenience. Online reservations give them that. Also gives you a way to capture people after hours too. They find your website, for the insomniacs out there who are on your website at midnight, and it's Thursday night. They just want to go ahead and reserve the unit. So it's the process. It's taken care of. They can show up on Saturday to move their stuff in, whatever it is. I think it's kind of been a slow grow, but I think it's going to be a lot bigger, moving forward, and it already is. Then the reservation numbers are continuing to climb from what we're seeing. So another thing to look at with your website is it fast? Slow websites are going to lose people. A page that takes more than 3 seconds to load obviously is going to lose a significant portion of the potential visitors. Not only are consumers demanding in how quickly they receive the information they're looking for, but also assume a slow loading website, it's going to appear to be outdated, probably doesn't contain relevant information that they're looking for. So that's something to keep in mind too, on how fast your website actually loads and how fast the pages load. So does your website, do you have do you have a modern look to it? Do you have a modern, we covered kind of the theme that we want to go for, but what's the feel of your website? If it looks like it was designed obviously in 2003, or if it's kind of a do-it-yourself type website, it's going to discount the value to some people. So,
Nick, we do have a question that came in related to this slide. It is, what is the expected conversion rate I should expect from consumers calling off of the website, filling out a quote form, and what type of follow-up should be given?
Okay, good question. We consistently see phone calls convert 50% or above, and we've even seen quote requests, as high as 25% if given an immediate response, usually within 5 to 10 minutes. I know this can be hard for, for some managers to do as they have several things going on at the facility. So one thing that you can do is at least set up an autoresponder so the consumer knows that you've received their request for information and will be contacting them shortly. And a lot of times in those autoresponders, you can mention your phone number again, also, any current promotions that you have going on. What you're trying to do is help them remember you and encourage them to wait for a reply. As far as a follow-up, we recommend at least 4 contacts, in the first 24 hours. Now, that might sound like a lot, but obviously we're kind of alternating the methods that we're choosing, that we're following up with. And what I mean by that is if they email us, a lot of times we always, we recommend at least trying to call and then following up with an email, then maybe, a phone call and then another email, just kind of mixing up the ways that you're getting a hold of them, as each person, will respond differently to that. And then the emails that you send should always have your phone number, facility name, address, just in case they've shopped, the multiple facilities. It's going to help, them remember you, or, see where you're located at, or even encourage them to call if you have your phone number on there. So, and then the other thing is if you are having trouble converting, a lot of the traffic that's coming from online, I mean, I guess, there's always call centers out there, but I think if you do the immediate follow-up is what we generally recommend. That's when we see the best conversion, from the email quotes, if we can respond within 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm getting into, some of the different options out there besides, I guess, getting away from just our website now. There's a lot of talk out there about, different directories. There's often referred to as aggregators. Who should I use? Who shouldn't I use? What are the costs associated with each? There's tons of options these days. I mean, I'll say that it's probably worth trying every single one of them. Some, are going to work better in certain markets than others. The commitments with a directory or, an aggregator is generally short-term, and one rental can go, a long ways in recovering the cost. The setup is usually user-friendly or usually done for you, very easy. And these directories are usually keeping up with current trends and obviously online shopper demands. So they're established. They generally have a very aggressive SEO, SEM budget. Their sites are set up to convert well. A lot of them, their success and growth is focused around generating your facility as many conversions as possible. So again, very affordable, easy to get set up, to get listed on. The reporting is really big on these too. It's usually in depth. It allows you to easily figure out the return that you're always getting. No long-term commitments, and there's even a lot of buzz these days about different sites that are allowing you to do a pay-per-performance type model, which is great. It takes a lot of risk out of it for you, and some of them even will have a trial period that they'll allow you to do. So you got to test the waters before investing any money. So there's been kind of some, I guess I've heard from a few different, whether it's facility owners, operators, that maybe a directory site, why should I join a directory site? It's something that I don't need. I'm just going to continue to push money towards your website. Again, your website that's your own piece of real estate. That's obviously the most important thing. What we're doing with these directory sites is we're getting ourselves on there. It's set up as a shop and compare site. Like I said, it allows, it usually is keeping up with trends, and several, obviously a lot of our competition is on there too. So if we're not on there, they're obviously going to capitalize on the people in our market that find this directory site. So the full value of a directory site also can't be seen just, in the calculable ROI, what you can actually figure you got from it versus, the expense. And when I say, what you got from it, that's taking into consideration the leads that you got through email, the phone calls. You know, if people, if you have a coupon on one of these, a lot of times they'll have a coupon that you can print so you can track when somebody brings that in. There's kind of a value that can't necessarily be measured, but it's, you know, it's felt by a lot of operators after starting, you know, a marketing campaign with several directories out there. It could be an increase in walk-in traffic, an increase in brand recognition that can obviously lead to improved results in other marketing campaigns. They work in synergy with each other. You may, you know, you're not always going to see the conversion on the aggregation site necessarily, but you may see an increase on your company website, as a lot of these sites will provide a link back to your company website, or maybe some of these users will be searching the directory site to do their shop and compare where all the facilities are conveniently located in one place, and then they'll, you know, go out and Google your website name because they found it on that directory site. So there's obviously a value there more than just, you know, like I said, what you're able to measure, that you were able to calculate exactly what you got. So, and if people are finding you on these directories and they're going out there then and they're, you know, just Googling your facility to find your own website, obviously it's all the more reason to make sure your website looks great and, you know, works the best that it can. So this next slide here, I think we covered most of the information on there. Again, you know, everything's tracked and reported to you. Generally, it's, you know, the number of leads that you were able to get from it, the phone calls that you got from it. It's broken down by when exactly, you know, that traffic came in, so you're always able to measure, you know, what the directory is doing for you. So on this, now we're going to kind of shift into local search.
Nick, before we go, could you answer one other question for one of our viewers? The question just came in: if I'm a facility owner, do I really want to be listed on the same site as my competition?
Yeah, and that, I mean, that's a great question. That relates back to we've had discussions with other you know, facility owners about that. Basically, online consumers are shoppers. I mean, they like to compare, and directories are obviously set up to do just that. By not being on there, you're not allowing your facility to be amongst the choices. So not every consumer is going to find your website and just, you know, automatically stop their search there. So the storage industry is still kind of catching up to other industries where this general, you know, principle has been proven over and over again, you know, to be very successful. Obviously, look at the travel industry. So it's, again, generally very inexpensive, and the way that I would look at it is it generates a few rentals and plus gets a link back to your website. You know, why wouldn't you do it? Generally, you know, a rental or two is going to go a long ways in recovering the cost for, you know, some of these sites the whole year. So and basically a directory, essentially it is a search engine. You know, it's just targeted to the specific product or service that's being searched. So I mean, that's kind of the way that I would look at it. Yeah, your competition's on there, but if you're not, then obviously you can't be one of those sites that the person's comparing. You're automatically not even in the decision process. So now shifting to local search, this is something that's obviously become huge. I mean, you can see from the statistic on the slide there, 35% of all internet searches are local. So often the search engine is going to have a listing for you that they get from another source. If the listing does exist, you'll find a link within the local to claim your local listing. If the listing doesn't exist, the major search engines are going to provide a way for you to create a listing, you know, in a matter of minutes. They want to make it simple. They want you to, you know, they want that relevant information from you. So they want specific information that's manually inputted by the business owner more than a feed, you know, from another site. And then obviously they're going to make this process easy for you. So as it says on there, it's free. This is, I mean, this local search, if you haven't went out and claimed your local listing, or, you know, saw if you did have a local listing, I recommend you do that today. Even though the initial setup, as I said, it's very simple. Even though it can be done in a few minutes, you can obviously you can make your facility shine. You can add photos, specials, coupons, directions. I know that with some of the, you know, the different local searches out there, you can pay, you know, a little bit, whether it's $10 a month to maybe get a coupon on there, enhance the listing. But basically, the basic information as far as, you know, your facility photos, your address, all that information can be on there for free. If you really want to enhance your listing, which we would recommend doing, I budget at least a couple hours just to to complete the setup on each search engine. If you decide you want to take advantage of all those options that they do offer in their local listings, so it's something that's worth looking into. It's relatively very inexpensive, and the return that you're going to get from it is going to be excellent. So local search, it's increasingly capturing more of the clicks from people that are using the search engine to find self-storage. And the traffic, again, it's free traffic to your website. It takes very little time to claim your listing. It's again, another reason to ensure your website can convert traffic into rentals. So,
Nick, I have another question that came in. If I'm already on one directory, can I be listed on many of them, and is there any advantage to doing that?
That relates back to kind of what I was talking about at the beginning of the presentation. I would recommend at least trying all of them. The information is going to be, I recommend keeping the information that you present on each of them, as far as obviously your facility name, your address. You need to make sure that that's the same, and then keep your message and such that you're presenting online consistent. But if you can get on several more directories, and a lot of them, like I said, will provide a link back to your website, and if they have a placement in your market on the first page where maybe some of your competitors are already on there, I don't see a reason why you shouldn't at least try it, especially if they have a short-term commitment, to see the type of return that you can get from it. I recommend trying as many things. The good thing about online is once if you do commit to trying something, even if it's for a few months, that information is obviously easy to be edited. It's nothing that is going to be out there for a year, like it would in print, or 6 months, or however long. So I would definitely recommend trying some of the other directories out there, and just seeing what each one can do for you. So, but again, getting back to local search, I would recommend, if you haven't done so already, which I'm sure several of us on here have, but at least go on there and see if your local listing, if it has been claimed, and then maybe spend some time with it, just jazzing it up a little bit, because it is a huge area that people are going to find your facility, and you want to make sure, obviously, that if you can get a link to your website on there, some pictures, if you can put a current promotion or anything on there, it's definitely going to be an affordable way for you guys to get a lot more people in your door. So the next slides that we'll talk about here are in relation to social media. When you think of social media, you think of Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. There's several of them out there. I won't go into all of them, but basically, social media, it's what online consumers are using to communicate. What you want to do with this, you want to be the facility that they talk about, or the facility at least that they're aware of in their community. And I guess I want to stress that point, just because when social media, when we first started, kind of experimenting with it and looking at Facebook and how we wanted to, I guess, our plan of attack on using, Facebook or Twitter or any of these, we realized that it's not necessarily something that you're going out continually trying to sell to the consumer. This is more of what people are using, obviously, to be social. You want to be the facility they talk about. You want to be the facility that, whether it's now or down the road, that they think of when they need storage units. So interesting things that you can post about the community, or fun facts, just things that people will find. They want to follow you. They want to keep up. They want to keep you as one of their friends. If you're continually trying to sell to them, and I'll get more into this, but if you're continually trying to push that message to them that we have a 5x10 for this much money, and we'll give you first month free, you should come down and rent a storage unit, you're going to get a lot of people that are going to get more or less annoyed, and that are going to quit following you, or drop you from their friend list. So, but the great thing about Facebook, Twitter, other social media tools, they allow for the instantaneous spread of information. With one post, you're going to have the opportunity for millions to see that information. Promoting your business, with these tools, we would recommend it's necessary in order to keep up with a lot of your competitors, because I'm sure that that they're all doing this as well. Society today, we're constantly sharing information over the internet, so having your company exposed in that way allows for others to spread information basically for you. They can retweet your post. They can, on Facebook, you can like if somebody posts something, and a lot more information, and other people obviously see when they do something like that. So it's a constant web of different people, being exposed to what you're trying to promote. So I could go on and on with statistics, but I just want to throw, just a few out, just to tell us, how important the social media, I guess, channel has become, and how it's going to continue to grow. In the U.S., there's an estimated 149 million active Facebook users, and of that 149 million, 70% of those people log in once a day. So it accounts for 25% of all time spent online. It's Facebook alone accounts for 8.93%, so roughly 9% of all website visits in the U.S. All of Google sites, including YouTube, Gmail, and Google itself, account for about 9.85%. So I mean, you've got Facebook that's just right under Google just for the, for all website visits. So it's definitely a fast-growing channel that you need to be a part of. The fastest growing demographic on Facebook is 17 to 35-year-olds. So these are your future renters. These are people that obviously, whether it's now or down the road, when they need a storage unit, you want to be the facility that people are talking about, your community, and the facility obviously that they think of. So after going through, I've really just lightly touched on this. We could do a whole, you could have a several-hour-long conversation with just focusing on your strategy for your social media. But you're probably thinking right now, I don't have time to manage all of this, and a lot of people honestly don't. So there are free programs out there like TweetDeck. This can help you manage and streamline these tasks. So you only spend a little bit of time each day working on your social media campaign instead of spending hours. Make sure though that you and your managers are focusing your social media efforts on tasks that promote your self-storage facility and not necessarily building farms. And I'm sure if you're familiar with Facebook, people know what Farmville is. This can be detrimental to your business presence in the social media arena. What I mean by that is you don't want to sort through all the requests from, if you're somebody on Facebook, you don't want to sort through all the requests from John Doe every day, asking for a piece of wood so he can, finish his virtual fence. This is going to cause people to defriend you as a person. I mean, it's annoying more or less. So the other thing that I want to talk about too before we get off of here is, since this is a channel that spreads so quickly as people are liking and retweeting, and the word is spreading quickly out there about your facility, you need to be really cautious of the message that you're portraying, and also monitor who is in charge of that content, whether you actually bring somebody in. A lot of companies are having their own team that's just focusing on their social media campaigns, or they're hiring whether it's college interns or younger people who kind of get the social media more. Make sure you're monitoring what type of message is being portrayed about your facility and what's being put on there, because it does reach so many people so fast. So,
Nick, here's an interesting social media question. Why do I want millions to see the social media? How can I localize or make the site area specific?
Well, when I say that it did spread it can spread to millions, the main people that are going to follow you are going to be people that, if you're promoting things in your local community, so maybe there's, an upcoming charity that's going on for Habitat for Humanity, for example, and you're putting things up like that, the main followers that you're going to get, they're going to be intrigued with your facility, are obviously going to be people probably in your local community because you're posting things about that. So that is going to be your main audience. However, the outlet, I guess, if you're maybe more of a national company, that it can reach millions. I mean, obviously we all have friends in different places. We talk to people that aren't necessarily in our local community, especially via Facebook. So that's what I meant by how it can spread out to all of those people as well. But your main core, and if you position your facility to focus on things that are going on in your local community, promote things, that's going to be the main people that follow you, and who your message is going to mean the most to, and the people that are going to think of you when they actually do need a storage unit. So I've heard of several great ideas that people have done with their Facebook. I know one, and it might be some of us have done this out there. They they actually, at their facility, to get people familiar with where they were, they went out on Facebook and they put out, you know, an event that they invited several people to that was a trick-or-treat, where the kids came down to the facility and they had, you know, a couple of the units open there, and they gave the kids different, you know, goodie bags and things like that. But things like that you can do, whether it's at your facility or other, you know, things in your community that you can promote. Obviously, it's going to be, you know, the people that are going to follow you are going to be, you know, those local people that are going to either see that or, you know, come to your facility or find that valuable information. That was kind of a long answer, but hopefully I was able to address that. So the next thing we'll talk about then, you know, while on the topic of social media, we talked a little bit earlier about, you know, linking as well, and the importance of, you know, getting your website link out there, whether it's on a directory or even, you know, on your Facebook page. Social media websites create very strong links to your site, and they obviously bring customers to your online places of business. Don't expect, and we touched a little bit on this, don't expect to see a huge influx of new customers once you have a Facebook page or a Twitter account. These things obviously do take time. The payoff isn't going to be huge at first, especially, you know, in our industry right now. But the primary reason that we're stressing that you should have this type of presence is obviously building it right now, and then we're hoping, you know, it'll bolster the standing of your primary website and give your customers a place to find it and promote you, especially moving down the road as this becomes more and more important to get your presence on there now and start building that base of followers and people who you know, pay attention to the things that you guys put on there. So the key, you know, to a good social media campaign is to be engaging. Communicate on a regular basis with a message people want to hear, and obviously repeat. What works? I mean, you can be creative here. Contests, promotions, polls, questions. Again, the things that we obviously wouldn't recommend doing, and what doesn't work is constant, you know, pestering with the same message, or you know, don't always talk necessarily about self-storage. You want to, I guess, vary your message to stay interesting. You don't want to become boring. Another thing that creates a strong link to your website is the local listings that we covered. Aggregation websites, the directories, they can, you know, not only add this link, but it can also strengthen your local listing, in fact, with another reference to your facility. This reference, you know, not only tells the search engines that your company's website is important enough to be linked to, but it also supports your local listing by telling the search engines that the information found in their local listing database, you know, can be verified somewhere else on the web. So list your facility in local community-driven websites. You know, a lot of people I know use the Chamber of Commerce website. There's also several free online classified ads out there. Some of the examples of those, you know, Craigslist, InetGiant.com. Those are a few that you guys can check out. With Craigslist, I mean, it takes a little bit of time. You do have to vary your message on there, but at the same time, I mean, it's free. It's another way of getting, you know, a link to your facility out there, getting your the information online, another place that people can find you. And if you get, you know, again, just a few rentals from it, it's obviously well worth the time, and it didn't cost you anything. So, and that's kind of, you know, what we like to see. Again, getting back to all these different things, most of them are very inexpensive compared to what, you know, we've paid for advertising costs, whether it's print advertising or things over the years. The online right now, even to get your website, you know, to get a small optimization package going, you know, like a small plan, I hear people spending maybe $50 a month, and their website in their local community is being found, you know, 1, 2, 3 on Google. Obviously, that's not the case everywhere. You know, generally maybe a smaller community or where your competitors just haven't caught up with, you know, with the online advantage yet. So those are all things that, you know, I would recommend trying as many things as possible, just to see, you know, what works, what doesn't. Again, it's generally short term. It's relatively inexpensive, and one rental can go a long way. So the more that you're visible, obviously, the more, you know, the more searches that you're going to capture when somebody's looking for, you know, a storage unit in your particular area. It's, you know, it's the process of elimination. The more space you consume, The more likely searchers are going to find you and not your competition if you're consuming several spaces. Or if they do find somewhere where, like a directory, for example, where some of your competitors are on there, at least you're on there as well, so you're in the mix of facilities that they're going to compare and choose from. There's a ton of free advertising still available, out there to you online. You can take advantage. So be creative, try multiple channels to see what works. Watch for new programs as well. There can be special offers and benefits to being the first to get into a new program. Not always, necessarily, but look at like Facebook and the unique usernames that were first come, first served. There's Google Plus out there now. Are they going to have something similar? It's hard to say, but at least being involved in these programs, especially the new ones that come up, gives you a better opportunity to increase your visibility when things like that pop up. So don't be afraid to try the new things, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Not everything's going to work for somebody, as I said before. Certain things work better in certain markets. Your spend's going to be different. But those are all things, what's cool about, trying different things is those are all things that can generally easily be set up and then easily stopped as well if it's not working out for you. So, basically what I want to leave you with is it's, I guess, better to be an innovator in your online marketing efforts instead of a follower. So nothing, is long-term generally, and it's very easy to update. So I guess now we have a little bit of time here, Poppy. We can take a few questions.
Sorry about that. Right now, I don't have any new questions that have come in. If anybody has any, this would certainly be the time to send them over to us. We've been kind of doing things a little differently and asking them as they actually come in.
One thing I do want to throw out there too is if anybody has any questions, they want to talk more about some of the some ideas that they might have, or have a few more in-depth questions on. I just kind of lightly touched on a lot of this stuff. As I said, we could go into social media alone could be its own presentation. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to give me a call. There's a toll-free number on there. Also, we're going to be at a couple of the upcoming industry trade shows. We'll be in Vegas in September. We'll also be in Tacoma, and then we hit several of the state shows too. So feel free to to reach out to us there, and we'd be happy to sit down with you. And whether it's talk about something that we related to on this webinar, anything that you have questions on regarding your internet marketing, we'd be happy to to see if we can help and give you some insight.
Nick, we've got a couple of questions coming in now. What is the best way to increase your fans on Facebook?
Best way to increase your fans on Facebook, I would say there is to mix up your messaging. And what I mean by that is that there's going to be certain things that are going to appeal to certain people in your community more than others. Whether it's you're promoting, you're putting up a link to the high school football team that's about ready to go play for the state title, or you're putting something up there about a food drive that they're having down at the local shelter. Things like that are going to appeal to different people, but I think as long as your messaging is always, you're consistently mixing it up and you're being creative with it without, again, talking too much about storage or trying to, push people to rent a storage unit, I think that your fans will continue to increase, and you won't see very many people dropping off if you stay creative with it.
All right, another question. Early on, Nick mentioned websites to go to track the keywords being used and directing traffic to my competitors. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to compete.com. You can also go to alexa.com. Both these sites, there's actually an area where you can enter your website and then maybe enter versus basically another website, and it'll tell you what the top keyword phrases are, in that that each one of those websites being found. You can compare, where they might be doing better than you for certain searches in your marketplace. And yeah, I would recommend compete.com is a great one. I would recommend going to that one. And again, there's also some analytic tools to research some of the keywords that are being searched, in your area. As I said, maybe people are typing in mini storage over self-storage, or mobile storage over portable storage, whatever it is, storage unit. You can kind of see and get a general idea of, what the gives you a good starting point to realize what keywords are being searched in your local area.
Next question: should you add other facilities to your friends list?
Should you add other facilities to your friends list? Yeah, I think so. I don't think that, if anything, it allows you to, it's kind of similar to going onto a directory where you can see what your competitors are doing, what they're offering. I think that most of us at least try to be friendly with our competition, see if we can learn a few things from them, maybe things that they do differently that are successful for them. I would. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't. You can at least kind of keep tabs again on what they're doing and some tactics that they might be using that you weren't aware of or had never really thought of.
All right, another question. How do I get Google to correct our map location? I've submitted the correction 3 times and it still hasn't changed.
That's a good question, actually. It usually depends upon, I guess I would have to do a little bit more research on that for the, there's a latitude and longitude area where you can, that's on Google, where you can actually submit the latitude and longitude of your facility a lot of times. I don't know exactly without going to Google where to tell you to go to look. Maybe that's a question that you can email me after or get a hold of me after this webinar, and we can talk about it. And I can get you a for sure answer, I guess, on how to do it.
Okay. What is the easiest way to get started with social media if it's something you haven't done before?
I would say the easiest way is just to maybe to research a little bit. There's a lot of information out there on how to get started with it. I would go and start up a Facebook page. Just get your facility name, address on there, a link to your website. You can add photos on there, obviously. Put your hours of operation on there. Just kind of get started with it, and then, as I said, there's a lot of different information available out there online that discusses different strategies that you might want to use. I would recommend, though, at least just starting with a basic page, and then you can start adding, whether it's you add people in the community that you know. Make sure, though, that whoever you put in charge of that, again, that you monitor who's responsible for your Facebook page and your Twitter and things like that, and that the message that you're portraying is something in line with whether it's something in line with what you have on your website, or that the image that you're portraying, because it is going to reach a lot of people very quickly, especially in your local community, if those are things that you're going to start posting about and trying to become involved with on Facebook. So.
All right. Well, it appears that we have received the last of the questions. If you have any other questions you'd like to send to Nick, you can send them to him directly at his email address. We'd like to thank everyone for attending today. We hope we've provided you with some useful information to help you in your self-storage endeavors. And just as a reminder, you will receive an email shortly with a link to the archived presentation, so make sure you watch your inbox for this email. Thank you again to everyone for attending. Thank you, Nick, for a great presentation. And everyone have a wonderful rest of the day.